You know, I think about us, the three of us, what we could be. I think about it all the time.
Please. It's terrible.
No, it's not. I know June. She's my friend. I care about her. How's your day going? You look pretty.
Thanks. I wore it just for you. Her father's a driver named Nick. He helped me to survive. Yes, you can, because I can't lose you.
I'm not gonna let anything happen to you.
What about you?
Your girlfriend is a badass.
Welcome to Above the Garage, a Nick and June, the Handmaid's Tale podcast.
Hi, friends, and welcome to our spoiler-free analysis of Season 1, Episode 7, which is called The Other Side. Let's do some introductions and dive in.
Hi, I'm Tina.
Hi, I'm Wanda.
Hi, I'm Scarlett.
Hi, I'm Violet.
And I'm Kate. So this episode opens with the sound of the engine, and you see the car flying around the corner, and June's holding onto the thing above the window that my great-grandmother used to always hang on to. What are those things called?
The oh shit bar. That's what I call it.
Okay. That fits.
Yeah.
And as he rounds the curve, he crashes pretty quickly, and you hear the sirens coming. I noticed something in this episode. I'd like to volunteer to be the license plate expert. So the license plate on that car was R3D13G, which the R3D looks like red. So, you know, Handmaid's Tale.
Oh.
Nice.
Okay.
And so
Good catch.
I Googled the whole thing together just to see if the 13G meant anything. And there was rosettedelacroix.com, a very, very detailed article about the Illuminati and such. That there's like 13 controlling families, and the G was the Masonic G. So I'm not saying that is the case, but that was what my research found. But there's a later license plate that I got real excited about the implications. So we can get to that later. Yeah, and so then they get out of the car, and Hannah has her little bunny, I guess it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And June's being a super sweet mom to her. Like, I feel like I would be panicking.
It's just
Too
amazing
much.
how she holds herself together for her
Right.
kid.
No,
She's like that with all their interactions. It seems
Yeah.
like she's very good with her.
She's an awesome mom.
In this episode, she's very focused. You see her throughout the episode, like she's ready. She has been ready.
It does seem like that. You're right. She's been waiting too long, and she's very ready. So yeah, and then Luke says 2 miles north, someone's going to meet us, and pushes them to go the other side of the road through the woods while he's gonna, try to distract the guardians that come. And it frustrates me that the gun is unloaded in the trunk, just because if I were in this.
Yeah.
That's my first note, is in all capital letters. Why wasn't the gun loaded? That was
Yeah.
my first note for
I
this
have thoughts.
episode. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it would be in the glove box, fully
Mhm.
loaded, I mean, Hannah's
Ready
asleep,
to go.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. So that frustrates me. I get the fumbling with the bullets because you must be like absolutely terrified at that point, but that's why you load it beforehand.
You have it.
Another thing I noticed about him with this weapon is that, first of all, he lied about knowing how to shoot it.
Yeah,
And
probably.
then he had to repeat how to first pop it. He was saying pop it, 6, pull. He was trying to remember what to do with it.
Mhm.
Somebody who I know how to shoot a weapon, I have never had to repeat orally
Right.
how to load it and how to shoot it. So that just proves that he didn't know how to operate the weapon.
No, I mean, he didn't seem convincing when he was like, yeah, I think in college.
Yeah.
I didn't buy that
And
either.
who learns how to shoot in college?
I was literally like,
Right,
when in
yeah.
college? That's be the worst time for just drunk. I
It's
don't
like
know.
he went with his like college buddies on the weekend to a shooting range is what he did. That
maybe
was him shooting a gun. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, so that's always just bothered me immensely that the gun was in the trunk.
Something that caught my attention when I first saw it was I got really annoyed because he didn't know how to use a gun.
Yeah.
Like I remember watching it and I was like, is he serious? Like, because he doesn't know how to use the gun. But then when I rewatched it, I recently was able to learn how to use a gun. So I didn't know how to use a gun, and it's not like I use them all the time. But once I had the gun safety class that you have to take, I realized, okay, well, I didn't know how to use a gun. Obviously, he didn't know how to use a gun. And I think that the reason I was annoyed was we usually expect men to kind of know what to do in this type of situation to protect their family. And I mean, I don't know, maybe in the States it's like that, or everywhere, like maybe people should know how to use guns, but some people don't. And that was the case here. But I thought it was just the way that we're built to see this type of situation where the man's always supposed to be ready to take action. And obviously he wasn't ready, even though, you know, we all expected him to be.
Yeah.
So I thought that was, you know, when I saw it the second time, I was like, maybe I shouldn't have been so annoyed, because he obviously didn't know the extent of what things were going to be like, which maybe he should have known. But he just basically didn't. So can we blame him for it? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know.
I don't think I'm not bothered by him not knowing. I'm bothered by him saying that he knew how to do it when he's in jeopardy. So it's his ego that got in the way. Instead of saying, no, could you please show me how to do this? Or admitting that he never shot a weapon before. I mean, not like you said, Scarlett, not everybody knows how to shoot a weapon, but don't lie about it.
And he should have learned when he taught him. When the guy was teaching me, he should have paid more attention. Not be standoffish about it, because it's not that serious.
He's never taken the situation real serious, in my opinion. I mean, all throughout this whole 4 seasons, everything, he's never taken it seriously. So that's what bothered me about the situation with the weapon.
In this episode, it's obvious, though, that he didn't take it seriously until a certain point where I think we can see when he realized.
But see,
this is real.
Even then, I don't think he did, because he's still trying to take the photo albums and things that, like, you don't get.
It's not It's not in that part. It's not in that part.
The baby's hospital bracelet, like, those are things you can live without.
Yeah, I didn't mean that part. I think it's further down.
I think one thing, though, just about the gun again, like, me and my husband would have literally no clue. I mean, I've never touched a gun. I've never been around guns. Like, I hate the idea of even touching a gun. Like it's like it's scary, but also like kind of upsetting to me. So we're very like far removed from that and from knowing what to do. I mean, he should have taken the training from the guy, but I think there's also some just like, I read that scene a little bit as fear, like of the gun, like just of the concept of having to deal with a gun. Because I feel like if I was sitting there and somebody was like handing me a gun, I would probably freeze. Like I would probably just be like, this is so different from what I thought I'd be doing today.
I get that too. But look at June, how she took that gun. Give it to her. I mean, she looks like she can handle it way better than he could. But he took it and he put it in the trunk.
Well, so did she, though. And June gets equal blame for that. She should never. I wouldn't have let that gun be in the trunk. That is that's not fully, like, they're both fully to blame with that. And
not in the situation they're in, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, specifically, he's told them they're looking for you. You've got to go now. They have no assurances of anything. I would have the gun with me and
loaded at that point, right?
Yeah,
exactly. At that point, you load it before you leave, and don't throw it unloaded into the trunk. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And there's absolutely no bullets out. The bullets are in a box. I mean, that drove me nuts.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess he still did manage to pull it together before anybody showed up.
He did fire once. That's what I was going to say. He did fire, because I was looking to see, did he manage to at least fire once? He did.
He did fire once.
He got shot instantly.
Violet,
I would too.
Violet, I'm like you, like a lot. I've always been like very, I don't like the fact that guns are everywhere in America, etc.
Yeah.
But I react differently, I guess, because many months ago, pre-election, when things were just feeling very like scary and volatile and such, I went out and learned how to use a gun. Maybe it's my Handmaid's Tale experience. I don't know. Something made me want to learn more and prepare more.
I guess I still just hang on to this hope that we're going to go the other way with it.
I'm with you, Violet. Never touched a gun.
Just like, I'm going to refuse forever. Even though, I think, if I was in the situation they're in, obviously I would have to do something, but I feel like I would be very likely to make mistakes, because I would be like battling a very strong urge not to touch it and not to deal with it. And so that's just my, small excuse for Luke, I guess, even though I'm not trying to excuse it, but I'm just saying, like, I could see that, because I could see myself doing, I don't think I would lie about knowing how to use a gun, though, but I think given the situation, I would be very hesitant to do anything with it. And I mean,
and we weren't
I think
anywhere near Gilead standards. I'm not saying that anybody else should have freaked out and learned how to use a gun yet, and everything calmed down afterwards. But yeah, maybe my senses are heightened from like watching this. I don't know.
I think too, like when we're skipping around a little bit, I guess we're on the topic of guns. When June finds out that he has the gun, it's basically like right when they're about to leave. Right. And I'm like, why didn't you immediately show her this and show her how to use it? Because you've had a gun in this house and you guys have been hiding out here
for days.
And she didn't know the gun was there and didn't know how to use it. Right. So that seemed like a pretty big, like he was just going to take care of everybody instead of, you know, empowering her to know what to do.
Yeah. That's what he believes, that that's his job, to protect them. And even though he obviously couldn't do it, he thinks that everything's going to be fine because his role is to protect them, even though he's not protecting them just because you're there. You have to know how to protect them. So yeah.
That's interesting. I for some reason not put that together, but they'd been there for several days, obviously. So that's insane to have not discussed that and done a lot of planning. Like
when the guy was teaching Luke how to use the gun, I was like, he should probably be showing June this because A, she's probably going to be better at it than he is, and B, the other adult in the space should know where the weapon is and how to use it. It would have been beneficial for them both to know how to use it.
But you see how she was like, well, show me how to use it. And he hesitated for a second or two. And she's like, come on. And then he showed her. And then that guy walked in, Joe, and she pointed it at him immediately, which shows she was better at it than him.
Right.
Yeah. Just the whole way that she stood and her like approach to that guy was very like, I mean, she was very defensive, in, like the way that like she was protecting everybody.
Right.
She knew the extent of the problem. Luke didn't know the extent of the problem. That's a difference in how they're both reacting in that scene.
And she has that person in her, you know. We all know.
She also has a lot more to lose than Luke. And she
That's one of my notes here. So when they're arguing over whether or not to take the backpack and all the photo albums, June is like, get rid of it. Let's go. We gotta go. Oh, we're gonna ride in the trunk. You know, he's like, I don't want to ride in the trunk. She's like, we'll ride in the trunk because it's her rights. It's her. She's the one that's losing everything by not leaving. He's not. The stakes are so much higher for her, and they always have been.
Right.
And they're not for him.
But I feel like that's still discounting the fact that he's a father, and everyone should be putting Hannah's like needs ahead, prioritized to an extreme. So like, I'm not saying, like, I'm sure you're right and that is exactly what he's doing, but it drives me nuts because this is all about Hannah right now. You guys all this is all about protecting Hannah, and you fucked up. Now you need to start doing shit right.
Right.
And that is not hanging on to her baby album, you know?
Yeah. And I think it was her sonogram pictures. Did you see that? As I was watching all it, like I was actually looking for important documents, but I mean, I guess the sonogram
he
pictures
had his visas, Wanda.
Yeah, but they were no good.
Well, he's holding on to memories, obviously. You know, he's holding on to what they have, which is what most people do. They just hold on to memories. So it shows the urgency that he knows he was going to lose something that he loved, which is his life from before. But like, it doesn't really translate to what he's doing. And I remember this is the episode where June tells him in the car, we should have left when Moira did.
Right.
And he tells her, we had to wait for the visas. And she tells him, when I lost my job, we should have left then. And he kind of says, yeah, well, I can't just make the visa process move faster just because I wanted to, all right? And she kind of like pops back and she's like, that's not what I'm saying. And, you know, like you get the idea that she was ready to leave as soon as she lost her job and he wasn't. And I think, Kate, you send me the part from the book. I don't have the picture here to read it, but I like that paragraph from the book where she says that she didn't feel like it was an us. She felt that she belonged to him now.
Yeah, you read that last week. Yeah, but did you notice that when she was saying that, she had gotten a little bit upset or agitated, but then she tried to calm him down when he got agitated. But she still, you know, mentioned that they should have left before. I mean, after she lost her job.
She pushed harder on that than you've ever seen her talk to him before.
Yeah.
Because she's always kind of placating him. And this time she's like, no, we should have left when Moira left. And he's like, well, she was on foot. And that was the only way to go, as it turns out. You can't go present your documents at the border at this point, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We could talk about everything that happened prior to them deciding to leave.
That'd be great.
I mean, the New Republic began with the coup. And that was when Congress was slaughtered and the president was killed and the courts were taken over. And then after that, the army declared a state of emergency. Now, with a state of emergency, what happens is the government is empowered to be able to put through policies that they wouldn't ordinarily do. So the army took over, then they did the state of emergency, and then the Sons of Jacob suspended the Constitution. And then after that, the newspapers were censored and they set up roadblocks so people couldn't travel freely. And during this time, people were just waiting in their homes to hear what was going on or to get some direction from the government, which they weren't getting. All of these changes were met with little resistance. And it was during this time that June lost her job and she was not allowed to own property anymore. So all of that happened and they still didn't decide to leave yet.
Crazy to hear it all laid out like that. And they still did not decide to go.
And my thought is this, and I'm not stating this is fact. This is my opinion, that they didn't decide to leave until Luke realized that he was losing something. Like they voided out their marriages. All the marriages, the second marriages were voided out, which justified Gilead taking away Hannah. So once he realized that he was going to be impacted directly, that's when he decided to get out. That's just my opinion. So don't fact check me.
I think you're probably right. That's true. I was thinking what would have made him finally decide to go. And that's probably it. He was going to lose something.
Right.
He was going to lose the life that he loved so much, you know, with June and Hannah. Oh, now it affects me. So now we need to go.
Yep.
Yeah.
One thing I was thinking, we're talking about Luke hanging on to the personal items. In the book, doesn't he kill their cat?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that was even in the script notes in Art and Making of the Handmaid's Tale. So I believe my headcanon, which I believe to be 100% true, is Lizzie was like, I don't want that to be in there.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want that.
Or they were trying to make him, even though he was a cheater, look sort of appealing to the audience. I read that in Art of the Handmaid's Tale too. Remember with the glasses? Did you read that, Kate?
I was going to say that, yeah. That's what I was about to say.
I think it's interesting though, because that, like the cat thing, it's like, obviously it's horrible and I don't want to see that in the show.
Right.
But at the same time, it would be weird to have him kill the cat and then try to keep the photo albums to me. Like it seems like those two things that's not the same person that would do that.
That is really
because he's like ready to kill the cat to get away safely and then taking stuff out of the backpack. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, that does not jive. That's a good point.
So I feel like that could be why they. It's probably because Lizzie was like, I'm not going to kill a cat. Because I would be like that too. But I thought about that like with me, because I mean, you know, I got 6 cats. And if I had to like suddenly escape, I'd do something very stupid. I would take my cats, I'd put them in the car.
Yeah.
I'd be
I don't know what I'd do with 6, but I would do with 1.
I'd be loading up my 10-year-old dog into the car. Like, let's go.
Yeah. my 18-year-old dog and my 6 cats getting in the car. Yeah.
My dog goes
normal
wherever.
Afternoon out.
Right. My dog goes wherever I go, and we get caught.
Yeah.
Right. That's how I feel too. I'm like, they're my family. So I mean,
no,
I know that's not smart.
Yeah.
I can't even like kill a spider in my house. So I can't.
We have an
I take them outside.
Here. I also take spiders outside though, for the record.
Yeah.
But that is extreme, I know. I've learned from friends.
Anyway, I just found that interesting that they were going to have him do that. And yet he seems so attached to other things.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't add up, like to try and do something smart. I mean, I don't know what's smart about killing a cat. It's 1, not 6, like you said, Violet. To me, like you're trying to do something smart, but then you're not really doing the smart things to get out.
Right.
So it doesn't, the fact of the cat doesn't really add up in my mind. It's just weird.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Wanda, I found very interesting what you said. I thought they hadn't left because just like a lot of people, they're just like, oh, you know, this can't happen, or it's going to change, or it's going to get better. It's just for now. Because I think June mentioned it. I don't know if it was June or Luke you know, she said that they were under curfew or under martial law. And
martial law.
Someone mentioned it's not going to last forever. So my idea was that that's why they didn't leave, because they didn't think it was going to get that bad. At least Luke, we obviously in this episode know that June wanted to leave. Like she knew that this was going to be bad. But I just always thought that he's like, well, you know, it's going to change. I'm going to be able to protect them. Everything's going to be fine. This is not going to last forever. But you make a really interesting point.
Yeah.
Here, like,
I think he did believe that it was going to get better, and he kept trying to tell her that it was going to get better, which I was prepared to go in on June. But after looking at the episode again and again, I realized that she was really stuck. She couldn't. I'm thinking, well, why didn't she get her kid and just up and leave?
She didn't have money. She lost her money and
exactly.
and her job. So she had to wait on Luke. Like,
right.
Yeah.
She had to depend on him, which I never put that together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is terrible because he kept telling her and reassuring her that everything was going to be okay, even as they're stuffed in a trunk.
Yeah.
Everything's going to be okay.
And once they were in the trunk, did you notice like he started complaining and he's like, oh, it's so small. It's so, it's uncomfortable. And she's calming him down inside the trunk. She's like, oh, this is so much bigger than that old sublet we had.
Yeah.
Like she's still the one like calming his fear. It was like unbelievable to me. I'm like, how is she still comforting this man?
Yeah, it seemed a little bit like, I don't know, because it started with him sort of doing that to her for her. Like it, I mean, it seemed like it went both ways. They were just, I don't know. I could live with that personally, just because I felt like I could see that happening with my husband or like my family, just like us both being scared and comforting each other.
Yeah, it was exactly that. Like in a situation where it's like scary for both of you, it's like one of us is always picking the other up and being the stronger person, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Although it does remind me of when I was having my first C-section with my daughter, and I could just like see she was about to pass out, and they're like inside of me. And I'm talking to him about like baseball, the Phillies, like calm them down while I'm having a baby. It was fine because actually almost certainly calmed me down to have to calm him down. He wasn't asking for it. He was not at all. It's just like kind of you recognize when the other's a little more panicked than you are, and
then he comforts her, you know, like I think that's when the first time we hear her call her a Junebug, I think.
Yeah.
When they stop and they hear the sirens.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I think so, but I'm not 100% sure. It's the first time. And, you know, they pull up to a stop and they literally open the trunk and see them there. And the Guardian was like, yeah, there's nothing here. Which obviously, again, tells us that there were always people against the system or trying to help or just playing both sides, however we want to see it, you know, and they let him go. She obviously got really scared for obvious reason. And it's Luke, the one that comforts her. So I think that's what Violet was saying.
Yeah.
There's like a 50-50 there.
Yeah, maybe I was a little unfair. I'm sorry.
No, it's a fair point. It's a fair point to bring that stuff up. But like, I think we probably all have slightly different perspectives on that stuff too. So it's interesting. You're right.
I think I saw more. I didn't see June comforting him. I just saw more of Luke. In my opinion, was gaslighting, but that's just my opinion.
I think he made a solid joke there. Was it him or her that said that this is much bigger than our apartment?
It was her. It was her.
She made a solid joke. All right, so we skipped him in the ambulance. I think that's the first thing that we skipped was him in the ambulance, waking up as the ambulance is crashing and tumbling, and he's hanging from the ceiling, and he lets himself out and smartly gathers some medicine, hopefully some antibiotics, some painkillers.
Which I did note something about that. So they took his glasses away, which I thought was really significant because I am absolutely blind without any like corrective lenses, like cannot see like 12 inches in front of my face. That significantly handicapped him. If he had not been able to find his glasses, he would have, depending on how bad his eyesight is, right? Mm-hmm. That could have been a significant handicap. So that was definitely the point of taking his glasses away. Yeah, like, why else would you take his glasses away? Because you want to handicap him in case anything happens.
I do have a counterpoint, though.
Do you?
At the end of the episode, he is with Aaron when he gets the text on his phone or whatever, and he walks into the offices. He doesn't have his glasses on until she hands him the note, and then he puts his glasses on to read them.
He can read. Yeah.
So maybe it wouldn't be for him. I just thought it was striking because I was like, man, if they took my glasses away and I could not find them, I would not have been able to go anywhere. Like, just I'm dead because I can't see. So
and they don't know how bad his sight is either. So you know they're doing your reasoning is valid there.
It's a good way to
ensure if his vision is as bad as mine is, if something happens, well, and we have your glasses, so sorry, buddy.
Yeah. Did you guys hear the ambulance driver say, "Keep him alive, Captain's got questions"?
Yep.
I did.
Yep.
No.
I noticed that too.
Yeah, because we were talking before, I don't remember when, about like wondering what their reason. Yeah, because it's like they shoot at him and then they try to save him.
Yeah.
But I guess they were just trying to disable him and then take him back to their captain or whatever. Because it's literally right before the ambulance crashes. When the guy that's in the back helping is like, be careful from the ice. I don't remember what he says, but and then the driver says, "Keep him alive, Captain's got questions." And I was like, oh, okay. Well, that was a justification there. A small note about that. Yeah.
It's in the transcript. I have it here. So it's in the script.
I figured they were keeping him alive to make some sort of example out of him. The way they would hang people or have him stoned, keep him alive, and then let some handmaids string him up or, whatever they were going to do with him.
Yeah, or maybe like
I don't know if they
torture information out of them or something about where they were hiding or who helped them or,
Who helped them maybe, yeah, but they'd already handled that. Yeah, so he does find his glasses and his wallet. Does he take his wallet? I didn't notice. Anyway.
I think that's what that was, yeah.
He would out of habit. And then he gets out and they're on a creek again. There's so much running water in this show.
Mm-hmm.
But he walks, he sees another guardian and starts kicking him and asking him where Route 201 is, which is right above him. And then he hears his walkie-talkie and goes up to the road. I would have probably done something with that walkie-talkie. But Route 201, I did look it up. It is the lead directly into Canada from somewhere around Dennistown, Maine. So
yeah, they were in Maine when they were trying to get across the border.
Yeah. And then as he's, he walks north until he finds the car again. And at that point is when we see him find Hannah's bunny and her shoe, her sonograms, and her baby hospital bracelet. It's also the second time that bracelet's been lost, right? Been kidnapped.
Oh, yeah.
She was kidnapped in the hospital.
Oh, yeah.
Quite a journey, that bracelet.
My main note about this whole section was just, I thought OT did a really good job of acting like he was really shot. I don't know, just the way he was moving and the noises he was making and stuff, it just seemed very realistic. Yeah, I feel like sometimes people just kind of push through it too much, and I'm like, I don't know, if you were shot, you'd probably be
oh my god, how painful.
Some noise about it. Yeah,
he must have been in an enormous amount of pain. I made that note too.
So much pain that he was kind of delirious when he's walking back.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then he saw the car.
Yeah, I even put, how did he not die out there in the woods? He was bleeding pretty significantly. It's a miracle that he survived, honestly.
Yeah.
Maybe the cold helps with that. Is that a thing? I feel like that's a thing. You don't bleed as much. I don't know.
I don't know.
If your body is colder, then it doesn't come out as fast.
Well, everything starts to slow down, like respiration and all that.
Right, and your heart and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So maybe, I don't know.
Okay, the scene has almost no dialogue, so it's all him. That beginning scene where he's stumbling in the woods. There's no dialogue, so yeah, it's a pretty good job.
It was really good acting.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was really good. Yeah,
you can see how much pain he's in, and great acting, OT. And then he is walking through this town where there's a ton of homophobic slurs on all the windows. And he walks past. I thought he was going to get into this other car, but he just leans on it. And because I noticed the license plate before, I noticed this license plate and Googled it. And it was 8Q79W1. So if you want me to take my license plate analysis to a whole new level, there's a type of personality analysis called Enneagram personality test. There's 9 different variations of personality, and it's rated differently amongst each one. And when it came up, when I looked up the license plate and you look up 9W1, it describes Luke to a T, wanting to live in an idealized world, willing to ignore what's really happening, try to avoid confrontation. 9s with a 1 wing, which is what it stands for, are afraid of being separated from the rest of the world and losing what matters to them. They desire peace both internally and externally. Their personality encourages them to make their idealized peaceful world a reality and distract themselves and avoid negative emotions. It causes them to seek moral action, be optimistic and orderly, avoid disturbing the peace and balance, and try to numb themselves to the real problems. They have difficulty facing conflict head on. Anyway, so I thought it was pretty on point for Luke's character.
Yeah, that's really weird.
Coincidence.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So then he breaks into the kitchen and drinks, I think, like the chicken broth that had gone bad.
Is that chicken
Is that what that
broth?
was?
I don't know. That was my guess. What do you guys think?
I thought it was
couldn't
milk
tell.
or something.
Yeah, I couldn't tell what it
That
was.
was the juice.
Yeah.
Something sour, definitely.
Yeah, it was bad, whatever it was. And then he flashes back to trying to drive out of town. And that's kind of what we were talking about earlier, where there's guardians everywhere. They've finally gotten their visas and are starting to leave. It looks like very scary. There's literally guardians everywhere.
Right.
Wow. How is this going to work?
Well, and they already know the name. I thought that was interesting too. That's kind of, I guess that's right around that same time when Luke has the jacket on and he's like, I'm not a guardian.
That's
when they find him, and I was like, oh, they know that they're already calling them guardians at this point.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because it had America had fell by then, and the sons of Jacob
they had the names established,
Yeah,
but I guess so.
Yeah.
Something that caught my attention, I don't know, this is just my opinion. Like obviously in the city where they were, we see that there's already a military presence and you have the military roadblocks in the city. They're keeping an eye, but when Luke gets to, I'm guessing that's a very small town outside the city, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
You see that, you can tell that violence happened there because you see, the propaganda, the anti-gay, the graffiti and all that stuff. So I kind of had the idea that maybe the way that once they took over, they moved from small towns, rounding people up and killing people and doing their fear stuff so that people stayed in order, and then they moved towards the big cities. Like, I don't know why I had that idea. It's just my perspective on what I saw there.
Well, and we saw later in the episode that she said they've done this to all the towns, so I think
they tried to tamp down on the resistance, because I guess people were resisting, but they made examples of them by hanging them, like we see later.
Yeah.
This was occurring to me around this time in the episode too. Like, what do we think June and Luke think would happen to June? Do they have some idea about what? I mean, they don't know about the handmaids yet, right?
Yeah, I think they kind of do.
They do.
The nun was telling. Remember, they were talking about Aaron.
Right, but
it seemed
when
like
they were trying to escape the city. She
already had a red tag on her ear too. Aaron did.
Yeah.
Right.
But like, I don't think they knew. Like, I think Luke realizes in part the reality of what June's going to become once Aaron freaks out, because they didn't know. Like, the nun explains there were rumors that they were rounding up the woman and doing training facilities. So that's when, it was right at the beginning. It wasn't done yet. So that's how he finds out. June finds out when she gets there.
So yeah, they're in the car and June's like biting her nails. There's guardians everywhere. And he says, we're just out for breakfast. It's not illegal. And she says, not yet.
Not yet.
Very accurate. And he's worried about Hannah in the back because they gave her Benadryl. But that's when June starts saying, we should have left when Moira did. And he pushes back. We had to wait for the visas. It's just so too late to be like that kind of rule follower, you gotta get out. But he realizes it because when she says it again, he says,
he finally says, I know.
Yeah. So he does.
I think he's just defensive because it's too late and there's nothing they can do about it.
Exactly. And I'm sure he feels bad.
Yeah, I guess he feels bad because he didn't do anything.
Right.
And that's when they also tell you that Moira was crossing on foot.
Yeah, that was really interesting. I had forgotten that was the plan, that was what she was doing.
Yeah. And they get to Mr. Whitford, who is very adorable, I think.
Yeah, I like Mr. Whitford.
Yeah.
He's a little bit condescending a couple times, though, I thought.
Well, I would have been
really.
Mr. Whitford's the one that takes them to the.
Yeah, he calls her little June. You look just like your mom.
Does he call the baby a rugrat or something?
Yeah.
That part I thought he was nice, but then when they get to the cabin, June asks like how far away the neighbors are, and he's kind of like happy, like after he tells her, and then they go inside, and he's like, "Hey, smile, you're safe." And it just, I don't know, kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
I do have a question though. So going back to him knowing June's mom, which he obviously did, he says, your mom gave me the snip now that it's illegal. So like in the chronological, in the order of the show, this is the first hint that we've gotten that her mother is a doctor, correct?
Yeah, that's
I think so. So I found it really interesting that Whitford was just able to like freely move between Canada and Gilead. When he went to Canada to get the passports for them and then came back.
Yeah.
So that was kind of interesting. Like I was just questioning how he was able to do that,
I guess they had started the resistance too. It was the beginning of the resistance. It wasn't fully formed like it is now, I guess.
Yeah.
You saw the guy when they got stopped and the trunk got searched. You saw the Gilead Guardian let him go, and he said something like he had gone out with his sister to the prom or the other way around. So, I mean, I guess the connections were already there.
Yeah. So maybe he had connections at the border like that he was like bribing or something to go back and forth.
Like, it didn't feel like kind of like the resistance like we see it now. It felt like, I don't know, like a business maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Like at that point, people could, I guess it was still light, Gilead light, if that's even an option. And then further down, and they really got in there and killed a lot of people, then there was no way for you to have a business of sneaking people out.
I also liked in that moment when he's like, hey, I'm gonna go get the Canadian passports. Luke is like surprised. He's like, well, what do you mean? I have our visas. and the guy's like, dude, those visas mean nothing anymore. Like, I've got to go get Canadian passports because the United States is like, no, sorry. And he was really surprised by that. Again, I think shows how serious or how he wasn't taking it seriously still, or he just didn't know a lot to know like
oblivious.
I waited for these visas and now they're pointless. So just how out of touch he is, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Another thing he did, Whitford told him, stay here. It's not safe for the ladies.
I was wondering that, like, so the very end when they're outside playing,
I
couldn't remember. I was like, had Mr. Whitford, did he tell them to stay inside? I was like, I could have sworn he said stay inside. And what did they do? They didn't stay inside.
Exactly.
And then they got caught.
Yep. And I don't trust that guy Joe at all.
I'm with you. I don't either. Don't trust him at all. Because if he was the only one that saw them, to then come and say, they're coming to get you, so you might want to run. Well, you're the only one who saw us, so how do they know we're here?
Right.
He's the one that tells them that Mr. Whitford got killed, that they hung him. And I think in that moment, when he tells Luke that, you see Luke's face and he looks at June. June looks like, this is it. I'm fucked. But Luke looks at her, and that is a moment where he realized he fucked up. For me, that look on Luke's face is the moment where he realized that, he waited too long.
Right.
So then Luke gets picked up by the
resistance.
Whatever you want to call them. The crew that's on the way out in the bus.
Yes, Zoe, her crew.
Yep.
Which, something that caught my attention there was, where's the episode where June is having she's romanticizing they're at the carnival with Luke and Hannah. Is that?
That's episode 104, I think.
So that's already happened. So what I thought was interesting, in the same way that June was romanticizing those moments with Luke and Hannah, like at the carnival and the aquarium, he was doing that in that moment with her and Hannah. He was romanticizing that moment where they're making the pancakes and it's got the James Taylor song playing. He was doing the same thing that she does, and romanticizing those moments in the middle of this moment where things are bad. He's suffering from a gunshot wound in the back of a van. A bus.
Which was so lucky that those people just happen to have the supplies and the knowledge to help him. Unbelievably lucky that she was like, oh, I've got literally an IV of antibiotics.
It sounds like she was a medic or something in the military.
I think there's a reason for the flashbacks to be kind of like romanticized, like you mentioned, Tina. I think that's usually what people do when they're looking back at what they lost. Everything seems perfect, but nothing's really perfect. So I think there's a reason why they do them like that.
No, I agree 100%. I just thought it was interesting. I never really noticed that. I mean, I knew June did it all the time, and I don't blame her, of course. Like you said, that's what you do. I never noticed or remembered that he did it as well. I just thought it was a nice parallel that they both did it with each other.
The other thing that struck me during that scene was they were playing Sweet Baby James. Seems to go along really well with kind of the idealized memory.
Yeah.
Some of the lyrics were like, won't you let me go down in my dreams, and just things like that makes me think what you're saying. Everything is very romanticized when they're looking back on these memories.
When they're in the van, that's also the first time they really not mention, I guess, because we've seen them before, but the Red Centers, they don't call it a Red Center, obviously, but they call it, the guy tells Luke that's how they got Aaron.
They got her from a high school in Rockdale.
Yeah, but I think they called it a training center, but I guess us knowing what we know about the show, we I understood it to be like a red center.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
They just didn't know what it was called yet.
Oh, okay.
Because he said there were what, 50 women? 30? 20?
Yeah, there were 50 women, but Erin was the only one they got out.
Right. And they said that their children had been torn away from them.
Right.
So presumably Erin had a child that was taken away, and they said, I think they're trying to get fertile women. But that's what I thought too, Tina, was that it was basically a red center in the making, or at least a like distribution center for red.
Like a beta version of the red center.
Yeah.
But she was red tagged, right? I'm not mistaken.
She was.
Yeah.
It was.
Well, she was playing with her red tag while she was just sitting there.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yep.
So I just noticed I thought her ear was really bloody. Like she tried to remove it, but it was just there. Okay.
Yeah, it was there.
Her ear was really red though. So that makes me wonder, was the red tag fresh? Like, had they just tagged her?
Yeah, which would cause bleeding.
Yeah.
They called it a bootleg raid. And there were some bootleg raids, and they were taking the fertile woman into training centers. And the kids were taken away. It's what I think the nun is the one that says that.
Yeah,
explains that to Luke when Erin started freaking out because they asked what's wrong with her, and they're like, we don't know what happened to her.
Yeah,
and they explain that to Luke. When he looks at her, you can see that he's like realizing that that's going to be June. That's his second time realizing.
Right.
Fucked up.
Yeah, and then does she hand him a beer or is it a soda?
A soda, and he can't look at her.
Can't tell.
It's a soda.
Okay.
But he can't look at her. I don't know if it was me, but he doesn't even look at her. And I think it's just because he feels very guilty.
Yeah, it feels terrible. Yeah, and he tries to get off the bus, and then Zoe doesn't let him because stopping the bus is going to endanger everybody, and he doesn't get to do that. So they say, all right, when we get off, you can take a boat down south if you want, but you can't get off right now.
And I think she was looking out for him too, because she knew, like, buddy, if you get off this bus, you're gonna die too. You're not gonna be able to run in by yourself and go get your wife. I'm sorry.
I think ultimately that's what she was doing by saying no. But when she pulled the gun on him, he's like, okay. And I feel like at that point, he both wants and needs an excuse to just get to Canada, because he is gonna die if he does anything else. So as much as we want him to run back and rescue them, realistically, there's 0% chance of that. So
no.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like that was a smarter choice. Like, I don't know if waiting 3 years to really do a whole lot was a smarter choice, but is that the scene where he says sorry about the fucks?
Yeah.
To the nun.
What is
it? Really cracks me up every time. I'm like, you just said it again. Like, okay.
That is funny. Luke asks, who are you guys? And the guy answers, an army brat, 2 strays, a gay, and a nun. Which sounds like a joke from before. And he says, sorry about the fucks. I like that joke too.
They all walk into a bar.
Yeah, exactly. Their names, I wrote also Christine, Lila, and Peter. I feel like I should have done some biblical analysis there, but that's not my forte.
This is going back, but when he first is stumbling over towards the bus and Christine leans out and says, don't worry, friend, we'll fix you up. My heart just like, I just felt it. I felt it in my heart. I was like, it's so sweet. It's like your hi friends. It's the same energy and saying hi friends to start the podcast.
And then he flashes back again and they're warming up the car. They're getting ready to go. And Joe, who I actually think is adorable, since I believe he's a good guy, enters the cabin and like you said earlier, Wanda, June quickly like pulls the gun on him.
Yeah.
Which is kind of awesome considering she's not handled it until 10 seconds ago.
No, that was her badassery coming out.
Yeah. Really. And, he says he's a friend. You guys are from Boston. They're looking for you. And she looks at Luke. She's like, should we wait for Whitford? And sadly, he then reveals there's no sense in that. He's dead. Caught him and hung him up from a streetlight in town. Strange guy, but I liked him. So it's getting even more serious for them. It takes a lot for them to realize exactly how dangerous everything is. He says, I called a friend. If you can make it past Jackman, he'll meet you at the border. No worries. This is pretty fucked up. And he just seems like a really nice guy. And I appreciate anytime you see just nice people that are genuinely trying to help.
Do you think he's a nice guy? Tina and I, we don't trust him.
I didn't trust him.
No.
I think you turned him in.
No,
I think so.
Don't break my. No, I liked his accent, you guys.
Nah.
It just felt he's the only one that saw them outside the house.
Yeah.
So, I guess we don't know. Did he snitch on them?
Yeah, he could have snitched on Whitford too. He knew Whitford.
Yeah.
I think Joe's a good guy. But that's good. I like that about this group.
We can do a poll.
Yes, a poll.
No more polls, please.
A poll is in order. Listen, I lost the last poll.
Please,
and I still
no.
would like another poll. It legitimizes.
This is a great
me.
idea for a poll. I love this.
Yeah. I agree because we seem split.
No, we don't. 3-2. She just said 3-2.
Yeah,
I'm on the winning side for once.
That's why we need the poll. We need the poll.
We do.
It's okay. I'm used to always being by myself usually, so. But I'm lucky I have Tina this time.
Do you want to know a reason I think that I didn't trust Joe is because when he first comes up on them, they're startled by his appearance and they're startled by the dog barking.
Right.
And in Gilead, whenever a dog barks, it's typically something not good is happening. Like to me, when I hear a dog barking in Gilead, I'm like, oh shit, something's about to go down.
Yeah.
So the fact
That's true in Gilead, I agree.
The fact that they were startled by a dog barking just set off the alarm bells in my head.
I like that point. It does not make me change sides, but I do like that point because it's absolutely true. It's always dogs barking to tell you should be alarmed. But
yeah,
did you hear his accent? Did you miss that part? I mean, and his name is Joe, though. All Joes are good guys, right?
They talk to Joe, and then is that when we flash back to the getting off the bus to get on the boat to cross to Canada?
Yeah.
And they aren't going to let Luke go because they only paid for what, 6? And he starts pulling out.
Well, first they go. First Zoe, first he's getting off the bus under the pretense of trying to find a boat back south to Boston, where he'll find June and Hannah. And the nun says, "May the Lord guide your steps and lead you to your June and Hannah and your Hannah." And I also noticed the bus is from Scarlet Woods Assisted Living, along the lines of the license plates that I've been focusing heavily on. Scarlet, red. I don't have anything else for that.
True. And also one of our podcast panelists.
Yeah, actually, that's probably what it was.
Yeah, it was definitely named for her.
It was a shout out to you, Scarlett.
Yeah, and then he says, "Thanks. If you're ever in Boston, look me up." He's joking. But Zoe says, "Let me show you something." And she walks him into this church and says, "A town fought back. They tried to hide the fertile women here. The guardians took them and strung every one of them up. There's one of these in every town. This is what they do to the people who fight back." And you see all the dead people hanging from the ceiling. And she says, "The US government has people in Canada who can help you find them. If you go back, you're going to die and you're going to leave them all on their own. Is that what you want?" And that's exactly what he needed to do. The correct thing at this time. And also, I think probably what he wanted to do, which is, get out of there for now, go to safety, because he's dying of a gunshot wound. Yeah. And so she convinces him and they go down. And that's Tina, where they get to the boat. And
you only paid for 6. There's 7 of you. And Luke decides, well, I'll trade you my drugs and his wedding ring.
Weird. Yeah.
I think it was 5 out of 6 people. And it's funny too, your response to that with, "We're all going," and he's like, "No, I just told you it didn't work like that."
I found weird that he, obviously didn't have anything else, but he was holding on to so many things during this episode that were of sentimental value, and he was so quick to give his wedding ring away.
Yeah.
But he didn't have anything else to give. But it was such a contrast that he just, gave it away. I don't know. It just called my attention, I guess, when I saw it.
I agree. That's a very good point. If somebody that can't let go of sonograms and hospital bracelets, even photo albums, the wedding ring is the thing you hang on to for forever, basically,
I think maybe it's also like a progression in the episode though of him. He's realizing more no, this is for real. You got to get out of there.
What's going on?
Yeah. He's not holding on to things as much by the end because he knows that it doesn't matter anymore.
Finally, I was trying to see if June had on a wedding ring, but I couldn't when she was in the car.
Oh,
I don't remember.
Well, she doesn't anymore.
No.
But yeah, maybe he's finally getting the gravity of the situation as the episode goes on and he's bleeding to death.
Someone says they're starting to patrol with drones. I found that interesting.
Right. Yeah,
I did catch that. Yeah,
I did not. That is interesting. And then it gets me too that them going in the church. So the boat's there waiting, which is something I was looking for specifically. Does it come after they get down? No, the boat's there waiting. So Zoe having to take Luke into that church actually delayed them enough that what happens next happens next. And that's sad because, he gets on the boat with Aaron. I'm not sure who else gets on, but I know several of their group get shot.
I was wondering if the nun got on. And every time I watch it, I can't see whether or not
figure it out either. Same.
I don't. Yeah. I was under the impression it was just Luke and Aaron were the only two that got on, but maybe I'm incorrect. I would have to watch a little closer, but
I think there were at least 3 people on the shore that I saw.
I know Zoe gets shot.
Yeah, Zoe gets shot and killed.
Zoe.
The gay guy.
Yeah.
I think it's 3 of them that get shot.
Yeah, at least, because I remember seeing 3 figures when they kind of pan by. And
but it's sad that the delay in trying to convince him to go actually, took their lives.
Right.
And it's not his fault. He didn't know. He was trying to do the right thing, but.
And that would be like a traumatic thing, though, like to be like, these people saved me and they didn't make it.
Right.
Exactly.
It's pretty awful.
Yeah, so then the boat speeds off and it flashes forward to Little America 3 years later, and Aaron and Luke are still hanging out, and Aaron's still not into words. And also they tell you in that scene that she's basically like barely leaving the apartment. They're only out there because the heat is off, I guess, because he says, well, the heat came back on, and she tries to jump down and go back to their apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so we know, I guess that scene is telling us that they're still close friends and that she's still not at all recovered from her trauma from 3 years ago.
Yeah, he's sort of looking over her, I guess.
Yeah,
looking out for her.
Yeah. And, he seems to be doing okay. And then he gets that alarm to the alert, I guess, to go to the embassy. And that's the first time, I guess, we walked to that embassy where there's just like thousands of flyers with women's faces on them and people in there, and I think it's funny when he's waiting for, also there's a flag with just 2 stars on it.
2 stars, and the rest, did you notice the rest are just empty outlines, which I thought was very chilling. Like, this is what we were.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that hurts. Yeah, and then he's waiting to get called in, and I think it's also interesting when she calls him in that he seems to think that she's finally like calling him, like, apparently my impression is he's asked for a meeting to talk about June, probably like tens of thousands of other people, and when he gets in there, he kind of seems like he thinks she's like called him back for this meeting,
right,
because he has a missing person, and she's like, I don't know what you're talking about, but we have this note, and it's also funny that she says, do you know June Osborne? Because obviously she knows that he knows June Osborne.
Yeah.
The Mexican ambassador's assistant knows that they were married. So so that question's funny. But
like when he was coming in with his little dossier or whatever of information, what he starts saying is what he learned on the bus 3 years earlier.
I was wondering that. Was he talking about that same thing?
Because he had said they had told him on the bus they were in a high school, and I think Wanda said Rockdale, right?
Yeah, Rockdale.
Yeah, but they said it was a high school, I think. And so he comes in with this folder, so he's giving them this like 3-year-old intelligence. Like, you can look in high school, so maybe you'll find her in a high school. And she's like, that's like, we know where they have I feel like at that point they probably had a pretty solid grasp on like,
she's not in that high school anymore.
Yeah, she's not in the high school
anymore. I never was, but
yeah.
I was wondering why he said high school. I didn't put that together.
Yeah.
He was trying to help.
3 years later.
Yeah, 3-year-old intelligence.
Well, but 3 years later, because that's when he got the meeting. Right. Sorry, I'm the least person that wants to defend Luke, but
Look, I've been sitting on this for 3 years. I'm gonna tell you my intelligence. I mean, I don't blame him. I would have been like, here's every bit of information I have that I think could possibly help you, right? But just the fact that he sat on it for 3 years.
They even mentioned that his meeting was supposed to be further down, because she mentions a time frame. I don't remember. I can look for the transcript.
Next week, I think she
says
says
something like that. And obviously they moved the meeting because they have June's note, but he was waiting for that meeting for 3 years. So I guess that's why he gives them the news. Yeah,
do we know for sure that he hasn't met with anybody else in all that time? I mean, we don't really know. I'm sure he has. I'm sure he's at least tried.
Maybe I haven't seen it.
I bet if he had, still it wouldn't be someone as senior as one of the 2 people that we know works for the American Embassy.
Right. And yeah, I just kind of, I guess I imagined maybe he worked his way up through people trying to.
My ATF research, I've been referring to the book, and in the book, he's not alive or not known to be alive. So
right.
Yeah, so she gives him the note. Oh, and he says, "Where did you get this?" And she says, "One of our contacts in the Mexican embassy. When? 3 weeks ago. So she's alive. We believe so, yes." And he's very moved by this moment.
You know what I didn't realize up until that point. I guess he didn't know she was alive either, which didn't dawn on me until that very moment. I think up until that point, he maybe thought she was also possibly dead. That was kind of how I read that scene, rewatching it,
Yeah, I think even if you knew,
sure.
I think even if you knew that they tried to use fertile women like that, like, I think anytime you didn't know what happened to your loved one, that would still be a big fear in your head, no matter.
Well, and especially the way she was taken, right? Like violently in the woods. He doesn't know if she fought back, maybe they just shot her and took Hannah. He didn't know. So that was, I think, probably just like for her in the previous episode, that was her confirmation that Luke is still alive.
Right.
That was his confirmation that, oh, she is still alive. Okay.
Right. Which is impossible to fathom. Like,
Yeah.
Wow. I do like the song they play, which was "Nothing's Gonna Hurt You, Baby" by Cigarettes After Sex. And the song lyrics are interesting because it's "Nothing's gonna hurt you, baby, as long as you're with me, you'll be just fine. Nothing's gonna hurt you, baby. Nothing's gonna take you from my side," which is kind of the opposite of what's going on here. But he is very elated to know that she's alive. And the note said, "I love you so much, save Hannah." And it is a nice scene. He's clearly very re-energized by that.
I think he felt guilty all those years, and then to get that note that she still loves him sort of uplifted him a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure he's wondering how she felt about everything, and it was nice of her to use her 60 seconds to write those important messages to help him. Okay, I think that's a wrap on our spoiler-free analysis of season 1, episode 7, The Other Side. So if you are a longtime watcher, check back on Wednesday for our deep dive into the same episode. And if you're a new watcher with us, thank you for joining us. And we'll see you next week for season 1, episode 8.
I think about us, the three of us, what we could be. I think about it all the time.
Please. It's terrible.
No, it's not. I know June. She's my friend. I care about her. How's her day going? You look pretty.
Thanks. I wore it just for you. Her father's a driver named Nick. He helped me to survive. Yes, you can, because I can't lose you.
I'm not gonna let anything happen to you.
What about you?
Your girlfriend is a badass.